Welcome back to our stained glass series here at Christ Episcopal Church. Today we're going to take a look at the sixth window in our Life of Jesus collection. This window is the Sermon on the Mount window. The Sermon on the Mount comes pretty early in Jesus' public ministry. We're told that the people in and around the region of Galilee get word of all the things that Jesus has been doing, the healings that he's been doing, the miraculous things that have been happening, the teachings that he's been saying, and they're curious about Jesus. So they come in large crowds and they gather at what today we call the Mount of Beatitudes. And Jesus invites them to sit down and he begins to teach them. He begins his sermon with the Beatitudes themselves, those 8 blessings that we've talked about several times because they're at the bottoms of all of the windows here in the church. But he also gets into some other interesting topics. He talks about the law, and in some ways he even takes the law a bit further. He talks about adultery. He talks about murder. He talks about salt and light, about loving your neighbor. He brings all sorts of wonderful teachings to the mountain that day, and it really sparks the interest in what Jesus has to say. It sparks that interest that's going to propel his ministry throughout the next several years as Jesus continues to teach and to preach throughout Galilee and then down into Jerusalem and Judea as well. So today we're going to take a look just at the first part of the Sermon on the Mount, verses 1 through 12 of Matthew chapter 5. And this is the part that has the Beatitudes in it. If I read the whole sermon, it would probably take a little while. So we're going to take a look just at the Beatitudes, and then we're going to look at this window and talk about some of the interesting features that are incorporated into the window that we have here at Christ Church. So I'll begin. Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 12. Now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and he sat down. His disciples came to him and he began to teach them. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Let's now take a look at this window. So here we are with our Sermon on the Mount window. Again, up at the top, we have that familiar angel with the 8-pointed star that represents the 8 Beatitudes. Below him, we have the scene of Jesus preaching on the mountain. Jesus is obviously the central figure here. He's the largest figure that represents his authority, the authority of the things that he is saying. Jesus is dressed in that white robe representing his purity, but notice that he has the red cloak over top, again, a foreshadowing of the blood that will be shed. Again, the red and the white halo behind Jesus' head represent those same things. You may notice that Jesus' right hand is pointing upward toward heaven. That's an indication that the words that he's saying in this sermon are from God, that these are heavenly words. These are words that have been brought down from the divine. This is an indication that Jesus is himself divine, the Son of God, God incarnate. Now you may notice that surrounding Jesus are stars. These stars, there are actually 7 of them. One might initially think that there should be 8 because of the 8 Beatitudes that are given in the Sermon on the Mount, but there are 7 stars. Perhaps the 8th one is actually behind Jesus' right hand, where he's holding his hand up there, and that's the star that has to do with persecution, the Beatitude that has to do with blessed are those who are persecuted, and Jesus himself will be persecuted. The nails will be driven through his hands and through his feet, and the spear through his side, as he gives up his life for the sake of the world. Another possibility is that these 7 stars are a reference to the 7 stars in the book of Revelation. In Revelation chapter 1, we're told that the Christ figure in that particular text is holding 7 stars in his hand that represent the 7 angels that go out to the 7 churches. So perhaps this is, again, referencing a later time in Jesus' ministry when he will reign over the universe, when he will come in glory to judge the living and the dead at the end of time. Now, below Jesus is the crowds. And these characters here represent a diversity of people. Notice that you have men and women, you have young children, you have some people that are dressed in very plain clothing, and you have some people that are dressed in very fashionable or very extravagant clothing. Again, that just represents that the words that Jesus is saying, the message that he's delivering in this Sermon on the Mount, is not for a small group of people. This is for everyone. This is for men and women, young and old, rich and poor. And as we see as Jesus moves on in his ministry, his followers will come from all of these different backgrounds. He will suffer the little children unto him. There will be women who come and follow him throughout his ministry in Galilee and Judea. There will be wealthy people who contribute to his cause. There will be poor people who fall at his feet and proclaim him as the Savior. Jesus is not a Savior or a Messiah just for a few. He has come to be the Savior of the whole world. And then, of course, as we move down to the bottom section of the window, we have our kneeling angel, and he's holding the lamb in the center, a reference to the sacrificial lamb that Jesus is the sacrifice that atones for the sins of the whole world. And then the bottom part finishes the sentence of this particular beatitude, which is, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." That the earth belongs to those who are humble. The earth belongs to those who are kind. The earth belongs to those who seek to serve rather than to be served. Earth is God's gift to humanity. It's God's gift to all believers. And those who are meek will inherit that wonderful and beautiful gift that is the earth that we enjoy. So blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And this concludes our 6th window, Jesus preaching on the mountain, the Sermon on the Mount.